Have you ever felt stuck learning English? Like, no matter how many words you memorize, when it's time to speak, nothing comes out? I've been there. But then I discovered one powerful technique that completely changed the way I speak, listen, and even think in English. It's called shadowing, and it's not just a study method, it's a journey. In today's story, I'll take you through my struggles, my funny mistakes, and the big breakthrough moments that turn my English from shy and broken into confident and natural. So grab your headphones, get ready to be inspired, and let's dive into the story of how shadowing can unlock your true English voice.
I still remember the very first time I tried the shadowing technique. It wasn't in a classroom, and it wasn't during a lesson. It was late at night in my small room. The light was dim, the fan hummed above me, and I was sitting cross-legged on my bed with my phone in my hand. I had just finished watching yet another video titled, How to Speak English Fluently in 3 Months. I had watched many of these videos before, but this time, something clicked. The speaker in that video kept mentioning one powerful method, shadowing. At first, I didn't really get it. Shadowing? What does that even mean? Do I follow someone like a shadow? The idea sounded strange, but my curiosity was stronger than my doubt. So, I put on my headphones, opened an English audiobook, and decided to give it a try. The story began with a calm narrator saying, "Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a young boy." I waited a second and then tried to repeat. "Once upon a time in small village," my words were clumsy, heavy, and broken. I couldn't keep up at all. My tongue felt like it was tied in knots. I laughed at myself, shaking my head. This is ridiculous, I thought. But something inside me whispered, "Keep going." So I did. For 10 minutes that night, I stumbled, mumbled, and butchered words. But when I went to sleep, I noticed something interesting. English was still echoing in my head. The rhythm of the narrator's voice stayed with me, like background music. It was the first time English didn't feel like a school subject. It felt alive. The first steps. The next morning, I tried again. This time, instead of a storybook, I opened an English news channel. The reporters spoke fast, too fast. Their words felt like waves crashing against me. I couldn't follow everything, but I shadowed anyway. I whispered their words as I made my coffee, spilling half the milk because I was too focused on keeping up. At first, my family looked at me like I was crazy. "Are you talking to yourself?" they asked. I smiled awkwardly and said, "No, I'm practicing English." They didn't understand, but I knew I was onto something. Every day became a new practice session. On the bus, I put in my earbuds and shadowed podcasts, moving my lips silently, ignoring the strange looks from strangers. In the evening, I shadowed movie dialogues, repeating after characters as if I were part of the film. Sometimes I failed miserably, mixing up words, missing sentences, laughing at how silly I sounded. But deep down, I felt a small fire burning. I knew this method was training me in a way I had never experienced before. The struggles and funny moments. Shadowing was not easy. In fact, it was exhausting. There were days when I felt like giving up. My tongue hurt from speaking so much. My brain felt overloaded. Sometimes I would shadow a British podcast, and halfway through I'd sigh, "Why do they speak so fast?" I remember one funny moment clearly. I was shadowing a TED Talk while walking in the park. I was so focused, repeating every single word, copying the speaker's intonation and hand gestures, even though no one was watching the video but me. Suddenly, an old man walking his dog stopped and stared at me. "Are you practicing a speech?" he asked. My face turned red, but then I smiled and replied in English. "Yes, something like that." That was the first time I felt proud instead of embarrassed. Shadowing turned me into an actor. I imitated accents, copied emotions, even practiced breathing like the speakers. Sometimes I felt like I was playing roles in a movie. One day a news anchor, the next day a stand-up comedian, and the next a storyteller. The breakthrough. Weeks passed, and something magical started to happen. My ears became sharper. I began noticing sounds I had never paid attention to before. The way native speakers connected words, the small pauses, the rise and fall of their voices. I realized English wasn't just words, it was music. And by shadowing, I was learning to sing that music. One day, about a month into shadowing, I had a breakthrough moment. I was sitting at a cafe when a tourist approached me and asked, "Excuse me, could you tell me where the train station is?" Normally, I would panic. My mind would freeze, and my answer would come out broken. But this time, I didn't think, I just spoke. "Sure, just go straight ahead and turn right at the traffic light." The tourist smiled and said, "Wow, your English is really good." My heart skipped a beat. That small compliment felt like a medal of honor. I walked home that day with a huge smile, whispering to myself, "It's working. It's really working." The secret of shadowing. I realized then that shadowing wasn't just about repeating words. It was about training my brain, my ears, and my mouth to work together like a team. I stopped translating in my head. I started thinking in English. My sentences became smoother. My confidence grew stronger. Every time I shadowed, I wasn't just learning English. I was living it. And here's the beautiful part. Shadowing isn't only about language. It also builds discipline. It teaches you patience, persistence, and courage. Because shadowing means you're not afraid to sound silly, you're not afraid to make mistakes, and you're willing to keep going even when it feels impossible. The transformation. Months later, I noticed a huge change in myself. I could watch English movies without subtitles and catch most of the words. I could talk to foreigners without fear. I could even give short presentations in English at school. The shy, hesitant learner I used to be had transformed into someone who could actually communicate. The biggest gift shadowing gave me was not perfect grammar or a perfect accent. It was confidence. The confidence to open my mouth and trust that the words would come. The confidence to connect with people in a language that once felt out of reach. Looking back, I see my journey with shadowing as a movie of its own. It started with a struggling character who couldn't speak fluently, filled with awkward failures and funny moments, but also determination and growth. And the ending? A new version of me, someone who could finally say, "Yes, I can speak English." That's why I always tell people, shadowing may feel strange, even silly at first. But if you keep going, it will change not just your English, but the way you see yourself. Because every time you shadow, you're not only repeating words, you're building the voice of your future. So if you're listening to this right now, I have one message for you. Put on your headphones, find an English voice you like, and start shadowing. Don't worry about mistakes. Don't worry about speed. Just follow the voice, like a shadow, day after day. One day, you'll realize you don't need to chase the words anymore. The words are already inside you. And that's the magic of shadowing.